Welcome back to Maker's Journey Workshop. I'm Benjamin Davies, and today we're talking about how to avoid welding distortion. Today I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks for welding, specifically to avoid distortion. That means if you've ever tried to weld up a gate or a frame for anything and it get all warped up and wappy-jawed on you, I'm going to teach you a method in a way that should help you avoid that, or at least cut down on it greatly. By the end of this video, you should be able to go out there in the garage, in the shop, take up some tubing, take up some angle iron, and be able to weld, applying these same tips and techniques, and be able to avoid that warpage. I know that warpage is something, and distortion is what I'm calling warpage, is something I wrestled with early on. It was so frustrating for me, but ever since learning how to do it this way, it has been such a time saver and made fabrication more enjoyable for me. If you know anything about me from any of our videos, I don't enjoy the fabrication side. I love the heat and beat. But if you're a metal worker, if you're a blacksmith, and you're wanting to tack some larger jobs, you gotta learn the fabrication side. So my advice to you is learn it. Develop that skill, stick it in your tool belt, and pull it out whenever you need it. All right, let's get into it. The biggest thing you can do right off the gate is make sure to clean up your metal. I've got some 4" by 4" quarter-inch angle iron here. I'm welding up some frames. They're going to be some smokehouse doors for a restaurant that I'm working on. And I thought this would be a brilliant opportunity to show you how to weld things like this and make it easy on yourself as possible. You know, one of the things that I really struggled with from the beginning was this distortion and welding these things up as I started getting into things like mirrors and fire screens, in which I needed to make a frame that needed to be able to fit up to the fireplace and work as a threshold to mount my doors on. And this warping thing was something I constantly had to fight, and I even had to come back to the shop once or twice to fix that distortion because I didn't catch it at first. So I'm gonna share you some tips and tricks with you today, and hopefully it makes life a lot easier for you as you're starting to get into some of these projects where you're going to need some precision welding and some precision measurements and avoid that warpage. All right, let's get into it. You know, the first thing I can't express highly enough is make sure you take your time and do the prep work. Get your measurements right. Make sure that you clean it up. Make sure that you're grinding some bevels on there so you got a place for your filler material to go. If you've ever just tried to weld stuff and butt things up and you get just this big ugly, you know, chicken scratch looking weld on top, that's why it needs a place to go. And welds like a clean surface. So take your time on the prep work. If you take your time on the prep work, take your time and really focus on the prep work. Once you get to the welding stage, it should go really, really quickly. So right now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna fit it up, make sure my measurements are right, make sure my tolerances are right, and then we're gonna start tacking it up. And I'm gonna explain to you in the way that I'm tacking it up and the reason why I'm tacking it up, and that way you can understand and hopefully avoid this at home too. Let's get to it. So I don't have any of those fancy jigs that you use for squaring things up like the Fireball tool. They look awesome, but I just don't do enough of this style of work to justify it yet. But I'm still able to get away and move and groove the way I want to without those tools. I just have to take my time for the fit up and make sure that I'm measuring as I'm tacking everything up. And this way has worked for me well for a long time. If I was into something bigger that was hanging off the table or several parts, those tools would definitely come in handy and you would be at a point where you definitely have to have those. But for what I'm doing here today, this works great. Also, I always go and harvest all my own measurements, and I highly recommend you do this yourself. Don't just go off a measurement that somebody sent you, because nothing's ever perfect. I'm looking at my firebox measurements here, and at the top it's 23 3/4 wide at the top of the firebox, and at the bottom it's right at 24 inches wide. So if I made that perfect and there was any kind of variance in between, I would have all kinds of trouble during a fit up. I'd be having to get some masonry chisels out. So what I always do is I build in a little bit of tolerance for error. And so I try to build my box just about a 1/4 inch smaller, and that way I have a little bit of wiggle room. It's not much, but I think it's just the right amount for what I'm doing here to where I have some wiggle room and I'm not having to fight it or tear apart that threshold to get this thing in. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far or you've enjoyed any of our content, please do us a favor, smash that subscribe button. Not gonna keep you up any longer. Let's get back to it. All right, so now that I've got everything laid out the way I want to, I've double checked my measurements. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna tack right here in these corners. You're gonna get the least amount of distortion from the outside. So that's where you wanna focus on first. So I'm gonna tack all 4 corners, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna check my measurements before doing any other tacking. First thing I'm doing is I'm measuring. So I'm less than 23 and a half right there is what I want. Less than 23 and a half right there. And I should be right at 26 and a half. 26 and a half. And I always measure corner to corner to make sure you're square. And I'm at 35 and an eighth. And 35 and an eighth. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack right here on this corner, and I'm gonna tack right here on this corner, and I'm gonna do it on all four sides. When I get done with that, I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the same thing. And now I'm just going to gently flip it over and make sure not to, snap any of these little tack welds I've got on there. And I'm going to start tacking the same way on the other side. Everything looks pretty good. Also, I'm going to throw a measure to it. I always try to go down a line, not just in the middle of the bar. 34 there. I'm at 34 here, which tells me I'm even where I want to be. And I'm gonna go off these here. I'm about 31 and an eighth. And right at 31. I've actually got a little bit narrower on my top side on purpose because I've got a small area to fit in. And so now I'm just gonna start tacking these guys up. I'm gonna tackle the corners and then I'm gonna tack the outside. And the same at the top. Now I want to go quick as possible. I want to cut down on my steps. I don't want to be doing laps around this table, so I'm just going to spin my piece. It's going to make life a lot easier. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some tacks in the middle. You don't have to do this, but it just helps me, and that way I can run shorter beads. Same thing on this side. And since I put them on this side, I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Rotate it and do the same thing. And so essentially what we're doing is we're trying to match it on both sides, because what happens is whenever you weld from one side, say we weld a seam right between my fingers, it wants to bow that up. And so by going back to the other side and doing the same thing, it kind of cancels it out. It helps relax the other side, because what will happen is it'll heat up and it'll cause shrinkage, and it'll shrink the metal inwards. And the best way to get rid of that is by doing it on the other side. And I found that if you take your time and do it this way, that it really helps. Now, before we go through and start running our beads in between our tacks, the first bead we're going to do is on these outside corners. This is where I have the most trouble as a welder, is welding vertically. What I found that works best for me is start at the top and go down pretty quickly. There are different techniques and tricks out there about maybe dragging a V up and having to really tune your welder in and know your voltages and your speed. And I've just never gotten great at that. So for me, what I recommend is making sure you've got plenty of clean area to fill in and drag that bead down, and it goes kind of quickly. And you're going to get the least amount of distortion from the outside. You're going to get the most amount of distortion from the inside, and that's what we're going to weld last. So let's weld these corners up, and then we'll start filling our beads in, and it should go pretty quick. Hey, Hey, real quick, just want to apologize about the footage there. I've not really recorded a whole lot of footage of welding up close yet. I'm gonna work on it, I'll experiment with it, and in the future when I do some welding videos, I'll make sure that I capture some better footage for you, but please stick around. There's a lot of good information that you can gain here today, especially if you're new to welding and you're trying to get started into bigger projects. All right, let's get back to it. Well, I think I got lucky for the sake of filming because my vertical welds usually don't look that clean. Now I know there's guys out there way better than I am, and so I'm not bragging, but that going down, just following your puddle because it wants to move quicker downhill, and I have a whole lot more difficult time trying to weld uphill. So experiment, take some pieces of scrap that you've got laying around, some cutoffs, and take time to experiment. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start welding some seams up. And so no more tacks, and we're just gonna start drawing a bead. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one corner at a time. That way we don't get that potato chip thing. So I'm gonna weld this back side over here, and then I'm gonna flip it over. So it's a lot of flip flopping, and this will be really frustrating if you're doing it on a larger piece. This is still kind of heavy, but it's definitely worth it to avoid distortion and warping, because if you've ever had to try to get a warp out of something, especially once you've got farther along, it is a headache. It's frustrating, it's not fun. And so if you can avoid as much problems in the process, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and knock that out. And so that's what we're gonna do here. Just like I said, we're gonna go ahead and flip it over. And make sure you're always getting as comfortable as you can, no matter how goofy you look, because you want to be comfortable as you can when you're welding, so you can get in there nice and steady. Woo, burning them knuckles up. All right, same thing here. Instead of flipping it back over, I'm just gonna go to the next corner. And that way, every time I'm flipping, I'm welding something. And this part should go quick. This is where all that prep work, all that grinding, and that fit up pays off, because now you can really fly. Make sure you're cleaning in between the welds. Welding loves cleanliness. It always helps to ground too. It's a good way to know if you got to flinch with anything. Flip it over, same thing. Get it nice and clean. You know, something else to think about that I really didn't discuss or go over, since we tacked everything together, that went ahead and adjusted and accounted for all the shrinking and the pulling as far as the gap is concerned. Because if I was just to start on one side and run a clear bead, what would happen is halfway up that gap, my gap would begin to widen. If I stopped halfway down that gap and just let it cool, when I came back, the tips from the gap to the empty spot would have drawn together. Welding can be a pretty delicate thing, and you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. All right, let's finish this guy off. All right, last is these inside corners, and the way that I like to do these inside corners is hang it off, lean over and relax and just drag my gun down. Again, I go pretty quick on these corners whenever I'm doing vertical welds and just try to stay ahead of it. And I've done a good job of prepping the inside of the metal, so I'm not welding a mill scale. I've got nice clean metal to weld on. And if it helps, try to do a practice run first, because it's a weird position. Anytime you're getting in a funky position, try to just do a practice run without, pulling the trigger, and then go from there. The truth. And so what we're going to want to look for, and I'm actually going to put on my glasses for this just so I can get some better footage, is we're going to want to pick it up, make sure to grab the hot parts and burn your hand, and then look right down the side. I'm pretty excited because I'm dead on this side. Maybe the other three sides are off, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna record this in real time, so if you get a bit of echo, I'm just trying to keep me honest, and that way you can see what I see, and I'm gonna put these things right next to each other. Straight, baby. Straight, baby. Woo-hoo-hoo. Very nice. Oh, and that's a good thing too, right there. See how it's not rocking, no cupping or anything. There's no jiggle. Means we did good. Hey, thank you so much for watching today. I hope if you're starting to dabble in some welding and you've had some frustration, this video here helps today. I know this is something that I wrestled with the first couple of years as I was getting into welding projects, and it even turned me away from a few. So don't be afraid, don't be shy. The information's out there. Get into it. Commit to bigger projects that's outside of your realm of skill. That's the only way you're going to get better. You got to push yourself. So until next week, I'm Ben Davies, and this is Maker's Journey Workshop. See y'all.